When we take a look back on 2020, we'll remember a crushing global pandemic, a fight for racial justice, a series of climate disasters, a divisive and consequential election.
But from that darkness, a light came rising. We saw it in the way neighbors looked out for each other during COVID-19, in the allies that showed up to BLM marches and protests, in the fundraising for those who lost homes and livelihoods, in the creative solutions we came up with when life crashed in on our plans.
We see that light in Glamour's 2020 Women of the Year, warriors who've been fighting for safety, equality, justice, and joy over their entire lives. This year's sisterhood includes a group of fearless first responders, a justice-seeking mayor, an unflinching civil rights activist, a 90-year-old still fighting for workers' rights, and a Hollywood icon for a new day. We are so very proud to honor these women of passion and purpose.
This is Glamour's 30th anniversary of celebrating groundbreaking women who blow past obstacles and break down barriers.
From Kamala to Malala to the iconic Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
They don't just take a seat at the table. They pull up chairs for the rest of us.
They remind us that we all have the power inside, and that the vision and determination of just one woman can truly change the world.
And now, Glamour's editor-in-chief, Samantha Barry.
Thank you, Chloe and Halle. For the past 30 years, Glamour has honoured Women of the Year of all ages, colours and experiences who have changed lives and often literally saved lives around the globe. Right now, we get to pay tribute to that legacy with extra admiration for the class of 2020. Incredible real-life heroes who see their work as a true calling. Their talent, determination and bravery would stand out in any year, but especially during a pandemic that disproportionately affects women's health, finances and stability. They inspire us to stand up and fight for what's right and good for everyone. As we salute them, I also want to include a special honoree, and that's you. This year, we saved a special designation for all the women and girls out there who've committed their time and talent and energy to help others and keep us all motivated to get through this very difficult year. When the pandemic hit, we were scared, but a group of women set their fears aside and went to work at the epicenter of COVID in America, Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, New York. It's women who carry the burden of responsibility in the American healthcare system. 77% of healthcare workers are female. The same is true at Elmhurst, where around 3,000 of their 4,000 employees are women who lead with optimism and compassion. Representing the tens of thousands of female healthcare workers who continue to fight for our lives, meet the Guardians of Elmhurst.
New York City continues to be the epicenter of the pandemic in the United States.
One hospital in particular, Elmhurst out in Queens, is really taking quite a shot.
What was going on behind those doors?
It looked like a war zone inside.
Every day, their body.
New York is now under a state of emergency because of coronavirus.
We did not go to medicine to be so hopeless.
The loss of life here at Elmhurst is staggering.
Pandemic panic.
It's incredible the amount of work that they were doing to help save our people.
I don't know how they did it.
What went through their hearts and minds? All they had were each other.
They put their lives on the line for all of us.
Everybody was scared. You had to do it. Who else was going to do it?
It's so important for that story to be told.
Elmhurst is an excellent hospital and have a great place in this community.
I was born in Elmhurst. My family mostly came from here. My cousins were born here. So that's why this hospital means so much to me.
Elmhurst overall is such a beautiful and wonderfully diverse community. And Elmhurst Hospital in particular is very special too because it's a public hospital.
The population at Queens that we serve at Elmhurst is needy people that they could not afford a good practice of medicine.
I think we work together very, very hard. I loved my job.
Elmhurst literally sits in between our two districts. We know that they've never had enough resources.
This community was going to be subject to a pandemic when the federal government wanted to do nothing. And so we knew that it was going to be the fight for our lives.
We had full emergency room, waiting room is standing by, and 7 ambulances are waiting to unload the patient.
A lot of hospitals, they don't want to accept the people when they was sick. And we took them. We took all of them.
It really got bad, real severe, really quickly, and it just felt like almost an avalanche of bricks.
Sometimes I was thinking I was in like a dream or movie or something like that. But it's happening in Elmhurst. It's happening right here.
We use every stretcher and every wheelchair, every corner of the emergency room especially.
You've had an increase in testing that you've never seen before.
I just remember standing at the nurse's station and I'm looking around like, I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Hospitals being overwhelmed by critically ill people.
A surge of patients. Staff certainly worn out emotionally and physically from dealing with this.
All these essential workers, they rushed into their workplaces every single day, and they literally took care of our constituents.
The most taxing aspect of that work is not just the physical lack of sleep that they went through, it was those experiences that they will live with for the rest of their lives.
We have to stay strong, otherwise, if, we fail, we don't expect anybody else to continue.
It wasn't just about nursing. It was about humanity, what's the right thing to do. It was everybody here that felt that way.
There were people that had to spend their final moments on earth without family, without friends.
So all of a sudden, you realize that that person has to depend on you.
They only see us, they only see nurses, they only see doctors. Sometimes I go and I pray, and I say, I'm here, I'm gonna pray, your family not here, but I'm gonna pray for you, and God gonna be here with you.
The news kept putting it out. Patients are dying in isolation. They were in isolation, but they had us.
It took such an immense amount of human compassion, human connection, and that was more than just giving a dose of medicine.
We have lost patients, loved ones, friends, and co-workers alike, and we want you and your families to know that they weren't alone.
I'm just someone who was trying to help and watch from the outside. I can't imagine what they were going through in the hospital day to day.
One of the things that I hope that we walk away from this experience, that our country walks away from this experience having, is that we should be honoring them every day.
Suddenly the world is realizing what Elmhurst went through.
I think we have grown into a larger family than we ever were.
When we saw our first patient that was extubated, that keeps you going,
My 2 sons, they proud of me because they say, Mom, you've been in the middle of the pandemic, you're still strong.
You raise your hand as a physician to help the population when the needs are there, and that keeps my staff coming too.
Everyone from nursing, housekeeping, every single department, the doctors, it's really a team effort.
To every single one of our heroes at Elmhurst Hospital, there is no way we can communicate our thanks and gratitude enough.
I love them for supporting the community and helping everybody around us. You put your duty to our community first.
Literally risking your lives to protect fellow New Yorkers.
You guys are unbelievable.
You have to be a special type of person to do that.
Thank you, Elmhurst Hospital.
Thank you for Elmhurst Hospital. Gracias al Elmhurst Hospital.
धन्यवाद Elmhurst Hospital.
Elmhurst Hospital এর সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ.
Thank you, Elmhurst Hospital.
감사합니다, Elmhurst Hospital. 감사합니다, 건강하세요.
We all know it's an important time for politics, and not just on a national level. This year, we realized the power and influence of local politicians, governors, State attorney generals, township clerks, and mayors fighting on a community level for their constituents.
Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is one of them. She defied cultural expectations, her governor, and the president to protect the people of Atlanta from COVID, unrest, and injustice, and that's why she's a Glamour Woman of the Year.
What would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? I ran for mayor, and here I am.
This is about Atlanta, and I stand here today knowing that there are possibilities that are still taking form each and every day in this city.
Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, is challenging Atlanta's mask requirement.
Another police shooting of a black man by a white police officer.
This is a movement that now crosses America.
I'd rather go down fighting than stand and be a loser. And that's what you saw over the past several months in 2020.
We are better than this. We're better than this as a city. We are better than this as a country.
Will we be left with charred, or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes that Atlanta has always done?
At the end of the day, we all have this responsibility and we all make our choices. But for me, it's what's going to be well with my soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to your feet as I present Keisha Lance Bottoms.
For as much as we get right, there's still this responsibility to do it even better. I am an Atlanta girl. The Atlanta neighborhood that I grew up in was one where everybody knew each other.
She's the child of a soul singer, a hairdresser. She's the product of the black church.
And there's just always been a confidence in the black community in Atlanta that you don't see in other places. You turn on the television, there were black people on TV. You went into the grocery store, there were black people in the grocery store. Your mayor was black. So all of this greatness was a part of our day-to-day existence. My dad, he was not a perfect man, but he loved me in this perfect way. He believed that I could do it all. All I had to do was believe I could do it. When my dad went to prison when I was 8, my mom became a single working mother, working 2 jobs, going to cosmetology school. And these things that were so hard growing up, and I thought the worst thing that could possibly happen, it happened to our family. But as an adult, I realized so many of these experiences made me who I am.
People across the country have taken to the streets in recent weeks, including in Atlanta, to protest police brutality and call for reforms.
Above everything else, I am a mother. And when I saw the murder of George Floyd, I hurt like a mother would hurt.
It's difficult for me not to see everything through the lens of my kids and how they see our city and how they feel our city.
And on yesterday, when I heard there were rumors about violent protests in Atlanta, I did what a mother would do. I called my son and I said, "Where are you?"
The night of the protest, I'd gotten him to go with me. So he wanted to go out and be in the streets. And I said, well, why don't you come with me so you can see the other side of what's happening? He's 18. I don't get a lot of emotional response from him. And he broke down in tears. He said, you have no idea what it feels like to be a black boy in America. There has to be healing in our land. And it has so much to do with leadership.
So what I see happening on the streets of Atlanta is not Atlanta. This is not in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. This is chaos. What I wanted more than anything was for us to get back to the conversation that this was all about. And when I saw the people out cleaning up our city, that felt like Atlanta to me.
When you stand on the side of what's right, come what may. And that was my approach to dealing with Governor Kemp.
Big city mayors are on the front lines of fights happening all over the country right now. Let's start with the issue of masks. Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, is challenging Atlanta's mask requirement.
One of the first conversations I had with Governor Kemp on the pandemic was so unsettling to me. He knew we were all in danger, and he didn't care.
Governor Kemp's position is that mayors cannot implement public health policies that go beyond his executive orders.
I don't know how many of these other leaders are going to be able to sleep at night knowing that they didn't do all that they could do in the midst of where we are with this pandemic.
An emergency court hearing that was scheduled for today was canceled.
The most important thing is that we continue to keep at the forefront of every decision that we make the health and safety of the people who call Atlanta home.
So I believe in this city, and this city produced Keisha. She's the product of Black people working of a neighborhood that was mixed economy, from worker class to middle class to affluent.
My grandmother always taught us is you help people in need. This formalized thing called public service was just how my grandmother raised us to be.
She excelled in elementary, she excelled in high school, went to college, undergrad, and then law school and excelled. And she came back and brought those skills to city council, gave herself to public service, and I appreciate her father and her mother for gifting her to us.
My dad always believed in the best in me. He taught me that it was okay to fail, but the real failure is if you didn't try. I think in the same way that people can be influenced by hate, they can be influenced by love, and we can dream differently, that we can dream bigger than what we see. And that it doesn't always have to be hard, it just has to be right.
For Breonna. And how many times must I wake to the sound of my own weeping? The violence of existing in this body worn fresh on my face, and I can't wash it off. The green eye of the computer screen daring me to shut it all down for the day, for the month, to shut it all down for eternity, to shut the streets down, shut my pride down, and walk out onto the sidewalk with my hands open to circumstance, begging to be taken next. Instead, I silence the dribble of Slacks, mute my inboxes, and quietly organize my rage to collect your life in wishes, in what I would want for you if you were my kin, my blood, my sibling, my love. I wish you the soft hand of prayer. I wish you a belly of long-lost pleasures and a dress room of hymns. I wish you an undisturbed peace and an ignorance to hell. I wish you a bath of fresh lilies and a time-warped end where death is no final form and death is not your name. I wish you a world where death is the field you lay down in, and in it is the soil of your rebirth, and in every town, your name, a tiny bird on the tongue of the voiceless. In every mouth, a vowel gone undone. In every eye, a tear to water your memory. In every chest, a thumping reminder that we must remain a menace to your enemy. Breonna, to survive is the greatest equalizer. But to die, oh death, is to multiply. To multiply is to multiply.
This year's Lifetime Achievement honoree has been fighting for the underdog for close to a century, often without the accolades she deserves. Legendary labor activist Dolores Huerta may be 90, but she's still advocating on behalf of working people and their rights.
No is unacceptable to this Glamour Woman of the Year. For Dolores, it's si se puede. Yes, we can.
Come on up, brothers. We are waiting for you. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if I wake up tomorrow and find out she's arrested. Don't tell me. because she does not mind going to jail.
Dolores was very gracious when I told her I had stolen her slogan, Si se puede, yes we can. Si se puede! Si se puede! I'm pleased that she let me off easy, because Dolores does not play.
We're talking about a real shero.
Everything in this world has come from the body of a woman.
She's not afraid to stand up for what's right.
She wasn't going to let anyone dictate what she was going to do and how she was going to do it.
So you have a 90-year-old woman that's still doing so much important work.
Her legacy is such that it's alive and working.
So where do we begin?
In the 1950s, Dolores Huerta was a young school teacher in the farming community of Stockton, California.
I could see the children of the farm workers that were coming into my classes, that you could see that they were malnutritioned, that they didn't have proper shoes on their feet. I knew some of these families that they weren't getting paid enough to be able to get what they needed for their children.
Farm workers were sleeping on the ground. They didn't have housing. They didn't have latrines. It was horrible. And because of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, all of that changed, and they became a very powerful force.
Alongside fellow civil rights icon and labor activist Cesar Chavez, Dolores co-founded the National Farm Workers Association in 1962.
Our sweat and our blood have fallen on this land to make other men rich.
Together, they'd ignite their community and transform the lives of millions.
La historia del mundo se ha hecho siempre por el movimiento de la gente.
The labor movement had long been dominated by men, but Dolores emerged to challenge the long-held stereotypes about leadership.
You had that ambience of that anything could be changed in the 60s.
The reason for the existence of the union is to try to get power for the powerless.
Dolores led a wave of civil disobedience that seized the nation's attention.
They don't have many spokesmen in Washington. They don't have many people fighting for them, so the result is they've been ignored.
The cry of huelga, the Spanish word for strike, had begun to sound throughout the country.
Dolores helped lead a worldwide grape boycott that forced growers to agree to some of the country's first farm worker contracts.
Victorious workers celebrated better pay and health care benefits, but more so, Dolores had revolutionized the industry for generations to come.
¡Que viva la huelga! ¡Arriba el boicoteo!
Dolores Huerta not only organized farm workers, but she's in the forefront of the women's movement. She was a leader, and she worked with me and Gloria Steinem and Bella Abzug.
I kind of call myself a born-again feminist, okay? Because after working with men for so many decades, at some point I said, hey, wait a minute, there's something wrong here.
Dolores' work within the feminist movement of the 70s inspired a long history of advocating for women, beginning with those she fought alongside in the Central Valley.
She helped them to understand that women were prepared to earn a living, and they could do many things that they were told they couldn't do.
You know, women are always on the front lines. The women are always doing all of the work, where somehow where women get left behind is when it comes to the decision-making.
For decades, Dolores has campaigned to get more women in public office, protect reproductive rights, and demand a seat at the table.
I love to quote Coretta Scott King, who said, "We will never have peace in the world until women take power."
We will not let them take the rights of women who have fought for so many decades to get to this point where we are at right now.
What began inside a small classroom in rural California came full circle in 2003 with the establishment of the Dolores Huerta Foundation.
Most would think that her activism is just like immigrants, field workers, but no, she focused on any issue that's, an injustice.
We've all got to become participants. We can't be witnesses. We've got to get into the streets.
The foundation has mobilized thousands of voters, secured millions of dollars for local infrastructure and education, and formed a youth outreach program to foster activists of today and tomorrow.
The youth group focuses on helping students have a voice.
She's teaching the youth to be outspoken, to deal with the social injustices in this world.
By doing that, they are learning how to benefit their communities, and it's pretty amazing.
If you see somebody that you relate to, it's that representation that makes you also strive in the future because you see yourself within them.
In honor of her Lifetime Achievement Award, the youth group had a few words for Dolores.
Dolores Huerta, take one.
That's our youth group.
Dolores Huerta, take one.
Oh.
Dolores Huerta, take one.
It's through your work that changed how my mom lived, and she was able to raise 3 kids on her own.
You've given me so much more power, so much more confidence. Just being around you, you radiate so much change. Thank you for fighting for those who don't have a voice.
Every moment is an organizing opportunity.
Every person, a potential activist. Every minute, a chance to change the world. Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Oh my God. That is so amazing.
Dolores' life's work has taken her from the fields of Delano to the steps of the White House. And at 90 years old, she continues to empower the voices of her community.
Dolores Huerta. We found that through the formation of an organization that you could get people together to start fighting some of these injustices.
I would hope people would think of me as someone that wants to engage people, to create more activists out there.
Our job is to teach them how to organize, to teach them how to fight.
Once people know and they understand that they have a voice and that they can actually make changes,
we've got to be able to say our ideas, and then I'm going to quote Gloria Steinem on this, put lights around it, right?
I call it like magic dust. It's like if you come into a community and you sprinkle magic dust on people and you say to them, look, you can do this. You have the power to make these changes. And once they understand that, it's just amazing.
And the day that I discovered that, I guess that was the happiest day of my whole life.
I'm Elle Fanning, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of L'Oreal Paris and their remarkable Women of Worth. Every year, Glamour and L'Oreal Paris partner up to celebrate real-life heroes among us. Women of Worth is an annual program that honors 10 extraordinary women who selflessly donate their time and energy to serve their communities. L'Oreal Paris deeply believes that every woman is worth it. And each year, they elevate inspiring women who shine a light on society's most pressing needs. The program, now in its 15th year, has honored 150 women who find beauty in giving back. Maria D'Angelo is one of those women.
The CLF began quite by accident. You know, I was volunteering at a shelter in South Central LA, and it was there that I met these extraordinary young children who had no resources, you know, to health care, to education, not even a roof over their head.
In 1993, Maria created the Children's Life-Saving Foundation, transforming the lives of LA's homeless and at-risk youth and families through summer camps, educational programs, college scholarships, financial aid, and in-kind donations.
We began with a camp in Malibu with 7 children, which grew to include 2,200 children a year. Since 1993, we have served over 85,000 homeless and at-risk children, and we have physically moved 55 families from shelters into their own homes. The amazing thing is how extraordinary, you know, these children are and how successful so many of them have become.
And when the pandemic hit, the CLF launched an emergency fund to help families pay for food, bills, and rent.
The pandemic devastated the families we serve. Our hope is to continue to assist these families, you know, throughout this COVID crisis.
Maria, on behalf of L'Oreal Paris and Glamour, thank you for inspiring women everywhere to understand their power and worth.
Hi, Maria.
Hello, Elle. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, hi. I just, on behalf of L'Oreal Paris and Glamour, we just wanted to congratulate you and thank you for everything that you've done for your community.
And I'm so grateful, truly, that Glamour and L'Oreal Paris chose to honor me this year. Thank you so much.
Not everyone knows our next Glamour Woman of the Year by name. It's not her style to seek the spotlight. She's a lifelong civil rights icon who stops at nothing to seek justice and equality for marginalized people and communities.
Meet the president and director counsel of the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund, Sherrilyn Ifill.
When I was a kid and I was watching all of these documentaries on television that my father insisted we watch, I was kind of overcome because it seemed insane that I had missed the civil rights movement, that I was clearly supposed to be involved.
I want to bring into the conversation now Sherrilyn Ifill. She's president and director counsel at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
Sherrilyn Ifill is an inspiration, an icon, and a visionary champion in the fight for justice and equality.
I am calling on each of you and challenging you to become the citizens that you were meant to be.
She has dedicated her life to eradicating the stain of systemic racism and injustice.
To have the ability to be full citizens and participate in the political process, that's what makes us a democracy.
Anyone who's seen Sherrilyn Ifill on television knows that she fights for the underdog.
Provisions of Section 5 of the Act were desperately needed to protect the ability of racial minorities to participate equally in the political process. The first kind of really powerful black woman that I saw who I thought, well, I would like to be like her, was Barbara Jordan during the Watergate hearings. And she talked consistently, powerfully about the Constitution. And I carried that with me back to the Legal Defense Fund, the understanding of communications as part of our job. We are constantly in the business of explaining America to itself. And just as today, we continue to work on issues around education and housing and criminal justice, but we're deeply engaged in issues of policing reform and representing protesters in Louisville and in Philadelphia and other places around the country. So we're always working at those two levels.
Racial justice is fundamental to the integrity of democracy, and it's time for the rest of us to take up that work.
She inspires people, especially the team that she leads at the LDF. She draws the very best talent to work for the cause.
I'm the second woman to lead LDF, and the first woman to lead LDF is a woman named Elaine Jones, just an incredible mentor for me.
Sherrilyn carries the legacy of generations of civil rights activists on her shoulders.
I want to extend, on behalf of the Legal Defense Fund, my deepest condolences to the Floyd family.
I have compared that photo of Officer Chauvin with his knee on the neck of George Floyd, looking out at us with his hands in his pocket, knowing that all these people are videotaping him and having no fear. I've been calling it a snapshot into the American soul and likening it to other snapshots, right? The image of Emmett Till that we saw only because his mother insisted that his casket be open, or the moment of the beating on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. There are these moments when America is compelled to see itself.
She is a light worker, elevating and illuminating and helping us all to be better, to get better, to lead better.
The satisfaction every day of knowing that you're doing what you were called to do, that you're doing work at the highest level, that you're doing work of this extraordinary nobility, that every day your work is in the service of others, there just isn't a better feeling.
Sherrilyn is funny, not like funny for the leader of one of the most important organizations ever to defend democracy and advance the cause of civil rights funny, but like comedy circuit funny, like stand-up comedian level funny. I also know her well enough to know that she wishes I hadn't said that.
I always was ambitious. I never had any false modesty about being smart and being powerful. I also felt passionately and deeply about the causes I believe in. In terms of public service, there's just nothing better.
Thank you, Sherrilyn, for being such an incredible leader for me and for so many others.
I'm so honored to have the chance to work with you, to know you, and to witness the amazing work that you continue to do.
Congratulations, Sherrilyn, for your well-deserved recognition as one of Glamour Magazine's Women of the Year.
Each and every one of you should vote.
Because first of all, we're allowed to vote.
Because it is a privilege.
Because the future depends on it.
And it's your power.
And as an African American and a woman, we didn't always have this right.
I know how impactful it can be, not just in fostering change, but engaging with your community.
Our democracy may not be perfect, but it gives us a chance.
No matter if you're rich or poor,
It gives me a voice to change the quality of life for not only my life, but future generations.
Voting made it possible for me to marry my wife.
And as a female with a disability, I want my voice to be heard.
Voting matters to me because I want a better future.
Your voice counts.
Don't sit on the sidelines.
Don't let the game get played without you.
Use your voice.
Show up, stand up, speak up.
It is your right.
So please, get out there
And vote.
We are so very excited to introduce our next honoree, who has portrayed strong, compelling Black women for decades. We're not surprised at all that she won her 4th Emmy for playing a woman who saves the world. She just seems like the kind of person who can.
She's an actress, director, producer, and activist. And now, Regina King is a Glamour Woman of the Year.
Decades into her career, the industry is giving Regina King the accolades and many things she should have been receiving all along.
I'm happy to be able to stand with this in my hands for the team.
She's carved out her own path in this industry and used her platform to demand more representation for women of color, for women in general.
So many faces. Oh my God, I've worked with damn near half the room.
She knows who lives in her skin. She knows who she is, and it comes through in her work.
I feel like I've had so many women that have paved the way.
Watch her act. Watch her direct. She's teaching you a master class of how to not only survive in this business, but to thrive.
Regina King is on a roll. That makes 4 Emmys in just 6 years.
She is a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
There are so many special things that I've taken away from every role that I've played. All of them are special, they all inform each other, and they all have a common denominator. Me.
Everyone feels like they grew up with her and they've watched the trajectory of her career and have really invested in it. You know, invested in her role. To me, the one that stands out the most was the one I needed the most, which was 227. Just playing a normal Black teenager when there weren't normal Black teenagers on TV.
I'm not a child. I'm almost a woman.
I had my son when I was 25. Being a young mom, I did get the opportunity to grow with my child.
Being a working mom is hard. She made me realize it was possible. She was so gracious in her choices, and she made sure that they always worked for her schedule with Ian.
If I had not become a mother, I wouldn't be able to say this. I would not change anything I've ever performed in as an actor. So, thank you, Ian.
Oh my gosh, which of Regina's roles stand out to me? All of them.
So whether that's American Crime or Ray, how Stella got her groove back, Boys in the Hood.
So of course, if Beale Street could talk, I mean, that performance is one that will go down in the history of cinema.
It's your grandchild. What difference does it make how it gets here?
The gloves and the cape are part of the photo shoot, but I guess they are appropriate for recent roles that I've played.
She stars in the HBO superhero series Watchmen, and hopefully now she'll be known for what she really is, a badass. Regina King!
That character represents just every Black woman I know.
Watchmen took the social justice conversation in America to another level.
It's so amazing and so timely.
One Night in Miami, directed by Regina King, is somebody who is best known for her acting.
I love being an actress. I will never stop being an actor. What brought me to directing is just the desire to work with the entire crew in a much deeper level. I have embarked on my first theatrical feature called One Night in Miami.
Yes, Cassius Marcellus Clay.
Kemp Powers wrote this amazing piece, and In my heart and mind, when I read it, I felt like I was the only director that should, not that could, that should tell Kemp's story.
Regina King is the first African-American female director to have an entry at the Venice Film Festival. Didn't shock me at all.
I think she's finding a lot of success as a director because Regina's actually put in the work.
Regina King, for this to be her directorial debut, she knocked this out of the park.
She has such tremendous vision, and that's what keeps her reinventing and recreating herself.
My sisters in this industry are just beacons and remind me how important it is to lean into and embrace the gifts that I've been given.
I'm an example of what it looks like when support and love is poured into someone.
The change brought to so many stories, but especially to those stories that we don't hear too often, the stories of Black women.
If you trusted love this far, don't panic now. Trust it all the way.
I'm so proud to know that I get to share those stories with my girls one day.
So to the most glamorous Glamour Woman of the Year, congratulations, sis. I love you.
I'm incredibly grateful for your friendship, your leadership, your sisterhood. We love you.
Regina, I am just so happy for you. You're changing the world. I hope you know that.
Oh, the journey is just beginning.
Thank you to every single one of Glamour's 2020 Women of the Year for educating us, inspiring us, and motivating us to do what we can to increase safety, equality, justice, and joy. And to Kimon Felix for that incredible poem.
Here's one thing you can do, if you haven't already. Vote. It's Halle's first time voting this year, and doesn't it feel good?
It sure does.
So when you're done casting your own vote, help someone else do the same. Check their registration, stamp their ballot, keep them company at the polling site, from a safe distance, of course.
And remember that as Glamour Women of the Year, congrats, Chloe, each of us has a special gift, a light, a spark inside that can help someone or a whole lot of people. We all have ways to keep rebellion and beauty and creativity flowing and going. So use your voice to lift someone up, shine your unique light, and know that we are cheering you on every step of the way.
Stay safe, stay strong. We love you. Bye.
Bye.